Okay.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Debs, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. Honestly, listening to all of you, it really, really, really is a deep honour to be here to speak with you all. And I just love that we're able to do this. You know, it's just amazing that we're able to connect in this way. So I hadn't heard of Zoom about 3 months ago, and now it's like everything's Zoom. So thank you, thank you, thank you to whoever invented Zoom. Because I don't know where we would have been without it, or all these other platforms. So yeah, it's lovely to be here. I do know some of you. I know some of you mentioned me when you were doing your little introductions then, but I also know that I don't know some of you as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lynn Meadowcroft, and I'm, as Deb said, I'm a licensed Heal Your Life teacher and coach. And let me just give you a little bit of background about myself. So I've always worked with vulnerable people. It seems that I've always been guided to work with vulnerable people. And I work with young homeless people. I've worked with in drug and alcohol centres. I've worked with dysfunctional families. Well, they call them dysfunctional families. They're not dysfunctional really, but that's the term that's been labelled with them. So it always seems, when I look back on my career, it always seems like I've always wanted to help people who have been in vulnerable situations. And what happened to me was I was about this far. Forgive me for those of you who might have heard this introduction before, but I was about this far from a nervous breakdown about 12 years ago. I was going through a divorce. I've been married for 18 years. I was going through a divorce. I had 2 children, 2 sons at age 12 and 15 at that time. I was the manager of a voluntary organisation, and I'd been physically attacked at work by a member of staff. So I was going through all of that with the management committee and mediation and all that kind of stuff. And I was in a really, really, really dark place. And I remember being in a manager's meeting in Preston, and I burst into tears, and I didn't know why I was crying. And so I left the meeting, and my regional manager came out and said, "Don't people ask you the most ridiculous questions? I'm crying." And she said, "Are you okay?" You know, so clearly, no, I'm not. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. And what I know is that I was almost having a nervous breakdown. And I went to my GP, and he said, "You're not going back there until all of this stuff is sorted out. This is really bad management. And so I'm putting you on the sick with work-related stress." So I was actually off sick for 6 months with work-related stress. And I never, ever, ever, ever want to go back to that place again. It was the darkest place that I've ever been in. And the thing is, it just crept up on me because I kept doing like you do, forgive me, Matthew, I'm just going to refer to women a little bit here, but as women, we do carry on, we push ourselves. You know, I had to put food on the table, I had to keep a roof over my children's heads. I had to do all of those things that women are really good at doing, to the detriment of my own mental and emotional health and well-being. So what happened was I never went back. I never went back to that job because I trained as a holistic therapist, not knowing why I was doing that. I was doing that in the evening at Bolton College. And I drove past an hairdresser's in Aspel. I live in Bolton in Belmont. And I saw this sign saying beauty room to let. And I thought, oh, I need to see that room. I had no idea about guidance then or anything like that or intuition. And that's what I ended up doing. I took the room on, and I ended up there for 5 years as an holistic therapist. Then I opened my own centre in Bolton called Time Out for You. And then I just became free. So then I started to do all the Louise Hay stuff. So when I was almost having my nervous breakdown, my sister, I have 3 sisters, and one of my sisters gave me this book by Louise Hay called The Power Is Within You. And honestly, when I read this book, I just couldn't stop crying because it really resonated. And I just thought, oh my God, it's me. You know, I can change this. And the tears were relief. that I could do something about this life that I was living, that I could do something about the pain and the suffering that I was feeling. So for those of you who don't know Louise, she's most famous for this book, You Can Heal Your Life. This is my Bible. And at the back of the book is Louise's list. So can I just ask, because I don't want to go through Louise if you all know about Louise. So can I just have a show of hands if you've all heard of Louise here? Great, okay. So she passed away 3 years this October at the age of 90. And she's left a massive legacy behind. So God bless Louise Hay for the work that she did. And she was considered to be a pioneer of the self-help movement way back in the 70s. So when I read this book, I just thought, right, so because I want to help people, right, people need to know about this. People need to know about Louise Hay. People need to know they can change. People need to know they can do something about their lives. So I thought, right, there's got to be training on this. So I Googled if there was any training, and whoa, there was training in Birmingham, in the UK. They did training all over the world, but I was delighted to find out that I didn't have to travel to America or anywhere. And so I did the training in 2011 in Birmingham. And I loved it. And it just completely, it just changed everything. And the year after, I went and did the coaching training. And then 2 years ago, I did the business training, because what they've realized is that people need to know about this in business as well. So I do a management program with businesses called Managing with the Heart and Mind. So that's a little bit about me. You'll find out more about me as I do my talk. But when I started to apply Louise's philosophies, what I noticed was that my life began to change, and I no longer was living in this place of this pain and this suffering and this poor me and the victim and the martyr and all the different archetypes. So that's a little bit about me. I want to start today with a little meditation. This is Louise's book called Heart Thoughts, and this is a fabulous book. It's full of little meditations for all different areas. So I'm just going to invite you to gently close your eyes and just take a nice breath. If you want to keep your eyes open, you can do, but I really advise you to close them. Take a nice breath and just allow yourself to absorb these words. I freely express who I am. I am indeed blessed. There are wonderful opportunities to be myself, to express myself as who I really am. I am the beauty and joy of the universe, expressing and receiving. I surround myself with divine honesty and justice. I know that divine right action is taking place, and whatever the outcome is, it is perfect for me and everyone concerned. I am one with the very power that created me. I am wonderful. I rejoice in the truth of my being. I accept it as so and let it be. I say, so be it, and know that all is well in my wonderful, wonderful world right here and right now. And so it is. And then if you want to gently open your eyes. Wasn't that lovely? Well, it's a brilliant, brilliant book, honestly. It really is. So I had a little chat with Des before we started. If you have any questions as I'm going through, can you just pop them into the chat, and then we can go back to the questions when I finish the talk. It's just so that the talk will flow better. Is that okay? All right. So I'm talking today about overcoming failure. And I'm going to share with you today an experience that I had about failure. And it's quite profound. So I have a question for you all to start off with. And my question is this: what are your fears? You don't have to answer that. It's just a question. Just think, what are your fears? You might want to make a note of it, and you can come back to these questions later. What are your fears? So some of the fears that I wrote down that I have or had are fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being worthy, fear of not being good enough, and fear of not deserving. So those were some of my fears. But we're not born with those fears, are we? So when you see a little baby, I'm very, very blessed because my niece had a baby in February before we went into lockdown. And so he's 5 months old now. And when I see him, he's just who he is. He's not pretending to be anybody else. He's not wearing different masks every day when he's with different groups of people. He just is. He is who he is. But he doesn't know fear of failure. He doesn't know what that is. So it's something that we learn. So who do we learn it from? We learn it from the people that surround us as we're growing up. So we're learning it from parents, we're learning it from our caregivers, we're learning it from teachers at school, we're learning it from siblings and peers and extended family. So it's a learned behaviour. So what I want to do today is share an experience of my fear of failing and how that affected my life. I have another question. Have you ever felt so afraid of failing that you didn't even bother trying at all? That fear was so deep within you that you didn't even bother. You just give up. You didn't even bother. So fear of failure can show up as in a number of ways. Fear of failure can show up as self-sabotage. Fear of failure can show up as low self-esteem, low confidence. So let me take you back in time now. Let me tell you a little bit of background. I'm the eldest child of 5. So my mum actually had 6 children. So I'm the eldest. And I was born in June 1959. And then the following year, my mum had twins. One of those twins passed away when she was 15 months old, Karen. Then my mum had a little boy. Then she had 2 more girls. All of this was in the space of 6 years. So the pressure that I had placed upon me as the eldest to be an example to my siblings was huge. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that that was expected of me. So I always had this pressure on me. And I was always told, the message I was given by my parents was, do your best. Do your best. As children, we internalize everything and we all have our own filters. So to me, what my little girl did was she interpreted do your best as do not fail. Do not fail. But my mum and dad weren't saying that. They were saying do your best. Do your best. But the pressure, and I could feel when I go back to childhood, I remember my heart racing because I felt all this pressure. I can't fail, I can't fail, I can't fail, I can't fail. What added to that pressure was, at the time when I was a child, my dad, bless him, is no longer with us, but my dad was a teacher. And so I had all of that added pressure of, well, my dad's a teacher, so I can't fail. I have to pass this because my dad's a teacher. I can't let him down because I want him to be proud of me, etc., etc. My dad had a brother. There were only two of them, and my dad's father died when he was young. So there was him and his brother, and my dad's mum felt that she couldn't cope with two boys. So my dad was brought up by his grandma, and my dad, so I'm talking about a working class background, poverty, but my dad was very intelligent, and he won a scholarship to a school in Bolton called Bolton School. People pay for their children to go to Bolton School. It's an elite school. It's a privileged school. And my dad won a scholarship to go to Bolton School. So he did go to Bolton School. And he was so proud that he went to that school. So he used to drum that into us. I went to Bolton School. And because he was a teacher, he drummed into us. I can't remember which, I'm not sure which minister said it in government. Education, education, education. But that was my dad's message. Education meant everything. Education, education, education. So as a child growing up, I had all of this pressure. I was terrified of exams, terrified of failing an exam. I had to pass these exams. So I was petrified of failing. And I remember, some of you may remember the 11 plus. And I remember sitting the 11 plus. And like I said, I remember my heart racing sitting this exam. And I was terrified, but I passed it, which meant that I could go to a grammar school. Oh, everybody was delighted. My dad was delighted. My mum was delighted. Everybody was delighted. I've passed. So that was school. And then later in life, all of the fear of failing was I didn't apply for the jobs that I wanted because I was terrified that I would fail the interview. I didn't put the applications in for the jobs because I was terrified I wouldn't be shortlisted for an interview. So I used to see all these jobs coming up that I would love to have done, but I didn't apply for them because I was terrified of failing. And then I had a massive, massive breakthrough 4 years ago, massive breakthrough with failure. And it was then that I could go back. So everything that I've just described to you, 4 years ago, I was able to go back and track all this back to the childhood that I've just described to you. Because I had no idea that all of that childhood messages, all those childhood experiences, I had no idea that all that was still affecting me in my adult life. So what happened 4 years ago? 4 years ago, I was doing an Ayurveda practitioner's course and I was loving it. I was really enjoying it. It was fantastic. We were having weekends away. We were learning a lot of stuff. I was loving it. On that course, we were expected to produce a portfolio. I knew that. I was told that at the beginning of the course. And I still signed up for it. But what happened was, as it got nearer and nearer and nearer and nearer to handing in the portfolio to graduate, the fear of failure kicked in big time. So this is what I did. And I want to show you something. This, I have notepads everywhere. This is a notepad. So it's full of notes, full of writing, full of stuff. Here is, I don't know if you can see it, it says here, Cleveland's Beach, Wednesday, the 24th of August, 2016. And here is a letter that I wrote out to the course tutor, Linda. So I'll read it to you. Linda, I have made a decision to leave the FBS programme. This decision hasn't been easy. My heart isn't in it. I have put myself through emotional turmoil these past few months. You hit the nail on the head when I came to Warrington with my portfolio and you said, I bet you're a hot Heal Your Life teacher. And without any hesitation, I replied with a resounding yes. I felt it in every cell of my body and in my heart. Driving home that evening, I saw for the first time that at this moment in time, my passion lies with my Heal Your Life work. I live and breathe this work and it means so very much to me. I am not feeling this passion with the FBS programme at the moment. I've really enjoyed our weekends together and I've learnt so much from you and everyone on the programme. My decision to leave bears no reflection on you as a person or as a teacher. You know how I feel about that. I have felt as though I have been doing this programme not for myself, but to please you and everyone else. This is where I have had my biggest turmoil. I love the work you do and the passion you share. You truly are amazing. When I came to you that day in Warrington with my portfolio, you sensed something was wrong. I came up with a realisation about shame and credited that to my dad. I now realise it's much deeper than that, and it's my shame of not speaking my truth, not saying how I truly feel so as not to disappoint anybody or let anyone down for fear of what they might think of me. They might not like me anymore, they might not want to be my friend. I see all that now, and so I need to speak my truth about how I'm feeling. My question now is, what are the next steps in terms of the programme? So I wrote all that. I drove from my house in Belmont to Cleveley's Beach to write that. Why couldn't I just write it at home? I drove all the way to Cleveley's, wrote that, drove all the way back home, and then I rang Linda and I had this in front of me. But Linda didn't answer the phone, so I left a voicemail message. Oh my God. I thought, oh, flipping heck. I almost had a panic attack. Anyway, within a few minutes, she rang me back. So then I hadn't got my pad, had I? So I said, oh, just hang on a minute. So I ran and I got the pad and I read to her what I've just read to you. But I pretended I wasn't reading it. I pretended that I was just saying it. She never interrupted me. And then at the end, she asked me one question. Why now? Why now? She said, I could understand this a few months ago or even 12 months ago. This were a 2-year programme. But why now? And I couldn't answer her. I couldn't answer her. So that's because my inner child couldn't answer. I was confused. I couldn't answer. So she said, I'll just leave that with you. Why now? So I said, right, okay. So I went upstairs, had a shower, and then when I was in the shower, I just started laughing. And I thought, what are you doing? What have you just done? I had this massive realisation. I thought, what have you just done? You've just driven all the way to Cleveley's and all the way back, and you've read this out, and you're going to throw this course away. This is the self-sabotage. You're going to throw all this course away, all that work that you've done. Why? Why are you doing that? And then I got my answer. Fear of failure. Because I had to hand in a portfolio. And if that portfolio wasn't good enough, I would have failed the course. So rather than face that failure, I went into self-sabotage and I was going to throw all that away rather than face that fear of failure. Because so my inner child took over big time. She surfaced, she got me in the car, and the reason why I think I went to Cleveland is because as a child, I loved the seaside. I felt safe at the seaside. It was my happy place. So my little child got me in the car, she drove me to Cleveland's, we wrote this letter, we read it out to the teacher, we thought we were conning her and pretending and all of this stuff. And why? Because I didn't want to face the possibility of failing that course because my portfolio wasn't good enough. Wow. So Linda messaged me later that night, how are you doing? And I said, I'll see you on Saturday. That was the next weekend that we were doing. She said, great. So off I go to Warrington. We're on this course. And she said, do you want to tell everybody what you did this week? An hour phone call. And I said, okay. So I shared with everybody else on the course what I'd done. And I admitted that I had written that and read it out. And she said, I knew you were reading something. I knew you were reading that. She said, I said to my husband, she's read that. She's read that. And I said, well, I did. I said, and when you didn't answer the phone the first time, I said, I can't tell you how petrified I was. You know, I said, I'd worked myself up into this state. That's how powerful our fears are. That's how powerful our fears are. And I had no idea that it was that deep rooted because we're not consciously aware. It's all in our subconscious, isn't it? So I have an invitation to you to finish this sentence, not now, but maybe later today. An invitation to finish this sentence. I feel fear because, and just finish that sentence. I feel fear because, and just allow whatever wants to come up. And then my other invitation is to finish this sentence. I feel fear of failing because. I fear of failing because. And then ask yourself, where did it come from? What were your childhood messages? What were your childhood messages? So this little girl who I described to you earlier, who felt all this pressure of having to do well at school, of having to perform, of having to pass every exam, the pressure that she felt was incredible. And I lived with that pressure all of my life. So not wanting to live with that pressure anymore. That's why I didn't apply for the jobs. I didn't go for those interviews because I didn't want to put myself in that situation. Didn't want to put myself in the situation of possibly failing. And my other invitation is this: don't be on your deathbed with any regrets. Don't be lying on your deathbed saying, if only I'd have done blah, blah, blah. I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have taken that opportunity. I wished I'd have taken that other opportunity. Don't have any regrets. And the thing is, just do it. Just do it. Don't get up here. Don't get into your head, because this will talk you out of anything. You can talk yourself out of anything if you get into your head. So I used to analyze things, analyze and then analyze what I'd analyzed, then analyze what I'd analyzed, then analyze that again, then analyze that again. And it was like paralysis of analysis. So just do it. You'll never know, will you, till you do it. You'll never know until you do it. Never. You've nothing to fear, nothing at all. Your fear is keeping you stuck. Your fear is keeping you playing small. So I've got a quote that I want to read here. This is a quote by Vincent van Gogh. What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? And A Course in Miracles says, if you knew who walked beside you on the path that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. If you knew who walked beside you on the path that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. So you have a choice. You have a choice. You can choose to live your life in fear, or you can choose to live your life in love. You can't be in both at the same time. So choose, make a choice. Do you want to live your life in fear? Do you want to live your life from a place of love? An analogy that I use, and it just came to me when I was doing a talk at a Mind, Body, Spirit fair, and we were talking about fears. And so what I say to people, and I know Elizabeth and Mazu did the 13-day online course with me in June, they've heard this before. So the analogy I use is, okay, so each morning you get up and you go to the shop, and there's only 2 shops next door to each other. So you go in one shop, and that shop is the shop of fear. So you go in there, it doesn't feel like a really nice place, doesn't feel like a great place. You don't like it, it's very toxic, it's very negative, your vibration's really low. So that's the shop of fear. So you come out of there, and then you go in the next shop next door, and that's the shop of love. Oh, you love it in there, it's great. It makes you feel good, it's uplifting, it's wonderful, it's full of positivity, you feel great. So if you had a choice each morning when you got up, and you had a choice of those shops, which shop would you go in? You wouldn't go in the shop of fear. You would all go in the shop of love. So step into that shop, step into that place of love. The only thing stopping you is yourself. So you have to reprogram your beliefs. Reprogram your beliefs to beliefs that support you. Because these old negative beliefs are limiting. They're limiting beliefs, so you have to change them. So change them to beliefs. Once you find out what your fears are, how do you work with that? So it's changing all of that. So it's knowing that you are good enough, knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you are deserving. And just think of all of the things that have happened in this world. If all these people wouldn't have carried on and carried on and carried on, we wouldn't have all these fabulous things in the world. Think of all the people that you consider who are successful. Do you think that just happened overnight? Do you not think that they went through different stages of failures? Okay, that right, not done that. Okay, let's do it this way. Right, nope, let's do it. Okay, let's do it that way. Nope, that still didn't work. Let's do it this way. Nope, let's do it this way. They carried on. They carried on. They carried on. They carried on. Feel your passion. Feel your passion. What are you passionate about? Feel your passion. Let your passion drive you. Don't allow those fears of failure. Just carry on. That little baby who's learning to walk keeps getting up. It doesn't stay on the floor and say, oh, I can't do this. It's hopeless. I can't walk. It's no good. You'll have to just leave me on the floor forever. I can't do this. It gets up. It doesn't know the fear of failure. It doesn't know about that. It just keeps getting up and doing it. And all the parents, oh, come on, get up, try again. Oh, get up, try again. Oh, get up. So keep doing it. Keep coming back. Keep coming back. There's a song, I love a song, I can't remember who the artist is, but there's a song called I Get Knocked Down, But I Get Up Again. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Da, 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 da. So you get knocked down, get up again. You get knocked down, get up again. You get knocked down, do something differently. So I want to leave you with another meditation of Louise's. It's about, before I do this, it's about vulnerability. We're all vulnerable. Acknowledge your vulnerability. Acknowledge your vulnerability. All of us are vulnerable. So just acknowledge your vulnerability. So I'm going to ask if you want to just close your eyes and take a nice breath. I am good enough. If there is any belief within you that says you can't have or you're not good enough, think to yourself, I am willing to let that belief go. I do not have to believe that anymore. Please do not struggle. It is not hard work. You are just changing a thought. You were born to enjoy life. Affirm that you are now willing to open to the abundance and prosperity that is available everywhere. You now claim this mentally for yourself right here and right now. I deserve to be prosperous. I deserve my good. That which you have declared is already accomplished in consciousness and now becomes manifest in your experience. And so it is. And then just opening your eyes. Oh, by the way, what I forgot to say is that I did graduate. I did pass the Ayurveda practitioner course. Thank you. I did pass the course. I handed my portfolio in and I passed the course. So don't let failure stop you. Don't let failure stop you. It's telling you something. It's giving you a message. So just be mindful. Just being that, it's having that awareness, isn't it? Awareness is the key to change. So just being aware. What's all this? And that's what I did. Why would I do that? Why would I try to cleave this? Why would I want to ring? Why did I do that? But that's how powerful fear can be. To take you to those extremes, to do that. You know, so I hope that you all got something from that. I hope that you enjoyed it. I do know that when I shared this story once at a Mind Body Spirit Fair, there was a lady who was sat in the audience, and we're very, very good friends now. And she came up to me at the end of that talk and she said, do you know what? She said, that has really inspired me to take some action. She wanted a particular job, but to get that job, she needed to have a maths qualification. She'd been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because she didn't feel that she was any good at maths. So she went back to college and she studied maths, and now she's got the job of her dreams because she went back to college, she did that math qualification, she passed, and now she's got the job of her dreams. And that was because she heard that story about failure. So I was deeply, deeply, deeply moved by her sharing that with me. So if it's inspired you, or if you want to share that story with somebody else who you feel might benefit from it, please do. So thank you.